Christine, how much does it hurt the WNBA when Caitlin Clark is out?
It is devastating to the WNBA when Caitlin.
Now, I know a lot of us were expecting some sort of dip since Caitlin Clark has been out with injury, but I don't think all of us were expecting the entire viewership of the entire WNBA to be down. And this tweet from Christine Brennan really stuck out to me. She said one player gets injured and more than half the TV audience for the entire league disappears. Has any other athlete ever had that kind of impact on a sport? Golf without Tiger definitely dropped precipitously on occasion.
This is absolutely unbelievable. With Caitlin Clark off the court, the WNBA has been thrown into a full-blown financial freefall. The league looks helpless, unable to stop its own empire from crumbling right in front of them. It's as if they've forgotten everything about protecting the one athlete who single-handedly dragged them out of irrelevance and into mainstream conversation. What we're watching is the unbelievable saga of a league that keeps sabotaging its own success, benching its brightest star, and stubbornly refusing to face the truth. A decision that's bleeding away millions every single day and risking the future they fought so hard to build.
And the truth is the truth, and the data is there. And what we saw when Caitlin was out the last time, the 5 games that she missed earlier in the season, the WNBA's viewership dropped more than 50%. Not just the Fever, but the entire league.
Let's be honest. Finding solid facts in today's world of viral drama and social media hot takes isn't easy, especially when everyone is talking about those sold-out WNBA games happening without Caitlin Clark on the court. But reality hit hard when the league's heavy dependence on one superstar became painfully obvious the moment Clark was sidelined with a quad injury back on May 24th. Now she's dealing with a groin injury, and the truth is no one really knows when she'll be back in action. What we're watching now feels like a frustrating sequel, the exact same nightmare playing out all over again, only with even higher stakes this time.
Injury jumped to her groin likely because of compensation, but the thing that you have to be careful of is if, say, you try to rush her back from this injury as well, then you're getting into this territory where a very serious injury can happen. That is what the Indiana Fever, that is what Caitlin need to avoid the best that they possibly can. So if it means that Caitlin is out for 3 weeks, if it means that she is out all the way through All-Star, then so.
Let me put this into perspective. Nationally televised WNBA ratings didn't just dip, they fell off a cliff, plummeting by a jaw-dropping 55%. Viewership sank from an average of more than 1.8 million when Caitlin Clark was on the court to barely 847,000 once she was sidelined. And it gets worse. Indiana Fever games specifically saw their audiences collapse by 53%, a staggering loss for a team that was supposed to be the league's main attraction. This is where the situation turns from alarming to downright catastrophic. A nightmare scenario for a league that refuses to own up to its mistakes and keeps pretending this isn't the crisis it very clearly is.
Went down. The WNBA ratings have dropped over 55% across the board.
Hey, guess what, guys?
The league is Caitlin Clark.
The league is Caitlin Clark. She is the WNBA, guys.
Sidelined with a left quad strain May 24th. National TV viewership has plunged since then 55%. Before the injury, the Fever, her team, were averaging 1.81 million viewers, almost 2 million. Since her injury, fewer than 850.
While Caitlin Clark was out there doing what she does best, packing arenas to capacity, shattering TV ratings, and generating record-breaking revenue, the WNBA was doing what it seems to do best, sitting on its hands and failing to protect its most valuable star. Somehow, the league seems perfectly fine with opponents repeatedly targeting the one player who drives an estimated 26.5% of its entire economic engine, all while hiding behind the tired excuse of just basketball plays. What makes this even more infuriating is that we've seen this exact nightmare before. The WNBA has already watched its revenue and viewership nosedive after losing a marquee player to injury. Yet here we are, watching history repeat itself in slow motion. It's like watching someone burn their hand on a hot stove, swear they've learned their lesson, and then immediately press their hand back on it, acting shocked that it's still hot.
News is alarming for the league, and it's alarming for the league because this is such a crucial year for the WNBA. At the end of this season, the WNBA will go into CBA negotiations. If negotiations go well, then every single player in the WNBA has a much better chance of making so much more in their next contract. And that's one thing when you start thinking about how many people stopped watching when Caitlin Clark got injured. A lot of people stopped watching because they are boycotting the WNBA. They don't want to give viewership to any other teams or any other players, whether they like other players on the team or not, because of how the media and the league itself has handled Caitlin Clark and how they have treated her.
And if you think this entire situation is as jaw-dropping as I do, make sure you hit that subscribe button because things are only getting crazier. The financial fallout has been brutal and fast. Ticket prices for Indiana Fever games have collapsed by an unbelievable 71%, with some seats that once sold for $860 now going for just $250. The average price for tickets to every game Caitlin Clark has missed dropped from $1,370 to a mere $80. A shocking freefall that leaves no doubt about who actually fuels interest in this league. Remember when games had to be moved to bigger arenas just to keep up with the insane demand for Clark tickets? Those same venues are now struggling to fill seats that would have been overflowing if she were playing. Even the Chicago Sky versus Fever rematch, one of the most hyped matchups of the entire season, saw prices crash from $210 to just $95. That first meeting drew 2.25 million viewers, making it one of the most watched WNBA games ever. Without Clark, though, it's just another game on the schedule, and casual fans are tuning out in droves.
What's really concerning about this is the fact that we are only a month into the regular season, and Caitlin Clark has already been out with 2 injuries. With the first one being her having to miss some time with a left quad strain. Now, of course, this is concerning because if you're already on your second injury, you don't want to be that player that is always hurt. Cough, cough, Embiid, cough, cough, Anthony Davis. So I really do hope that the Fever really sits her out right now for a while, only because you don't want her to have more long-term injuries and be more prone.
One of the most outspoken critics of the WNBA's mishandling of its biggest star has been veteran sports journalist Christine Brennan. Her upcoming book on Caitlin Clark and the revolution reshaping women's sports promises to lay bare everything the league has been getting wrong. After yet another game where Clark was blatantly targeted by opponents, Brennan didn't hold back, stating, "The WNBA continues to fail to meet the moment. This is what fans are seeing as they tune in record numbers." And she's absolutely right. The numbers don't lie. By the league's own data, Clark is responsible for more than half of all WNBA television viewership. Yet somehow, the league still allows her to take dangerous fouls and cheap shots clearly meant to rattle her, risking the health of the very player driving their success. It's like a restaurant whose only star chef is the reason people show up, and instead of protecting them, management just stands by while customers heckle them in the kitchen.
Man, bruh. Congratulations to the WNBA. Your ratings are gonna drop by 55 to 60% once again. I believe the WNBA have successfully broken Caitlin Clark.
At this point, the pattern has become painfully predictable. Opponents who seem more focused on sending a message than actually playing basketball keep hammering Caitlin Clark with hard fouls. Here's the staggering part. 5 of the league's 30 most flagrant fouls against Clark happened in 2024 alone, and an outrageous 80% of those came from the Chicago Sky. And no matter how Clark responds, she can't win. If she fires back, she's labeled combative and emotional. If she stays quiet, she's branded as soft or passive. The league has essentially trapped her in a lose-lose situation. And worse, they seem completely unwilling to do anything about it. Meanwhile, the fallout is crushing the entire WNBA, not just the Fever. The league was already staring at a projected $50 million loss this year, but with Clark sidelined, that number is ballooning out of control. TV ratings are tanking, merchandise sales are stalling, and attendance is collapsing back to pre-Clark levels, erasing the momentum that made this season one of the most promising in league history. Every day she stays off the court, the damage multiplies.
As big a deal as Tiger was in men's golf, Keith, he did, and when he was gone, it affected the ratings, but nothing like that. And, Michael Jordan being out, maybe a 5 percentage points or something. Nothing like this. You can make a strong case, and I will make that case, and have that there is no one single athlete more important to his or her sport or tour or whatever the circuit is that they play on than Caitlin Clark is to the W.
Here's the most heartbreaking part of this entire disaster. It never had to happen. From the moment Caitlin Clark set foot on a WNBA court, she carried herself with humility. She praised her teammates, redirected the spotlight away from herself, and handled endless criticism with remarkable maturity for a 22-year-old. The league was handed a once-in-a-generation gift, a star who could transform the game, grow its audience, and inspire a new era of women's basketball. All they had to do was protect her, support her, and use her popularity to elevate the entire sport. Instead, they let jealousy, politics, and infighting derail what could have been a historic moment. And now, the fallout is much bigger than empty seats and dipping ratings. Corporate sponsors who invested millions are quietly reconsidering their partnerships as the Clark-driven momentum that once fueled the league's growth evaporates. This mess exposes a deeper identity crisis inside the WNBA, a league that can't decide if it wants to be a serious professional sports organization or a constant source of social media drama. And here's the reality check: you can't be both. Real professional leagues safeguard their stars and protect the integrity of competition. Drama clubs rely on chaos and controversy to get attention. Right now, the WNBA looks far too much like the latter, and it's costing them everything they've worked for.
I don't even know where to begin, man. I hope Caitlin Clark is okay. I want to know when this injury even happened, bro, because let's be serious here. She has the quad injury. Mind you, Caitlin Clark hadn't missed a game since she was like 19 years old, since she was like 18 in college or something. Now she has a groin injury. We've never seen Caitlin Clark play as bad as she played the last 3 games. Let's just be serious here. She's like 1 for 20-something on threes in the last 3. We've never seen her shoot the ball this way. I'll say that. Has she been hurt and playing through?
The difference between the WNBA and other professional leagues couldn't be more obvious, and frankly, it's embarrassing. Imagine if the NBA allowed players to take cheap shots at LeBron James for months on end and then shrugged it off as just competitive basketball. The league would shut that down instantly, suspending players before the next tip-off. But the WNBA seems content to let this destructive cycle roll on, almost as if they believe that any attention, even negative attention, is better than none. The result? A toxic atmosphere that's driving away even the league's most loyal fans. Many are now openly refusing to attend games without Clark, not because they don't love basketball, but because they no longer trust the product on the court or the officiating that's supposed to keep it fair. When your own fanbase is telling you they've lost faith in the competitiveness of your sport, that's not just a ratings problem. It's a full-blown credibility crisis that threatens the future of the league.
I admire about Caitlin. She's a warrior. She's tough. You hear me? Bruh, you just don't see players. You don't see female basketball players like her. I'm sorry. I haven't seen a lot of female basketball players, like I said.
The WNBA has had countless opportunities to correct course, but each time they've chosen to do nothing. And that's what makes this situation so infuriating. Every single incident involving Caitlin Clark should have been a wake-up call, a bright red siren signaling the need for clear rules on player safety and fair competition. Instead, we keep getting the same recycled excuses about just basketball plays and letting the players play, as if that justifies putting their biggest star in danger. The cruel irony is that Clark's injury, the very thing the league should have been working tirelessly to prevent, has made her true value impossible to ignore. A 55% collapse in viewership isn't just a dip, it's a warning siren for the entire business model. And yet, despite this glaring evidence, there's no sign the WNBA is actually learning from it. League officials keep hiding behind buzzwords like competitive balance and physical play, as if flagrant fouls and cheap shots are somehow a requirement for growing the sport. Meanwhile, they turn a blind eye to genuinely dangerous hits on Clark, while overreacting to completely routine plays involving her. It's a double standard that's not just unfair, it's actively hurting the league's future.
Clean up. I believe the physicality and all this hacking and fouling that goes on. She getting blindsided by Marina Mabrey. I think all of this stuff is having a wear and tear and an impact. And all you guys are doing are hurting yourselves, because the numbers are going to drop and drop and drop. And trust me, when it's time for that collective bargaining agreement, they are going to point to this and say, well, how can we give you guys all this money? What happens if she gets her?
Let's be clear, there's no complicated mystery here. The WNBA has to make a choice about what kind of league it wants to be. If it truly wants to be taken seriously as a professional sports organization, then it needs to start acting like one. That means setting firm, crystal clear rules for player safety and enforcing them consistently. No exceptions, no excuses. The focus has to return to the actual game, not the endless stream of manufactured controversies and social media drama. Most importantly, the league must finally admit what everyone already knows. Its biggest stars, the ones who sell out arenas and drive record-breaking TV numbers, need protection from the kind of targeting and cheap shots that do nothing but generate viral clips. The steep decline in revenue, attendance, and ratings since Clark went down is the loudest wake-up call possible. Without her, average viewership for the season has cratered to just 555,000, even lower than last year's 670,000 mark. Those aren't just numbers on a page. They're a flashing sign that the league is sliding right back into the pre-Clark era, when games were played in half-empty arenas and only the most dedicated fans were paying attention. If the WNBA doesn't change its strategy now, it risks undoing all the progress it fought so hard to achieve.
Yeah, because of the way they play the game, because I love the WNBA, I love the way they play the game. But we really watch it because Caitlin Clark and everybody watching. Now listen, if I keep bumping her, knocking her down, might get her a concussion, you might hurt her for real. For 2 weeks, she was done with like a hamstring. She was down. 55% of the viewership was down. She comes back the next game, it's about 3 million viewers. Now let me tell you something. Growing up in the hood, they teach you this. Always protect the money. Y'all keep hurting her and all that. She going for a year or two. Ain't nobody gonna watch it. If nobody watches, how y'all gonna make and generate?
The most frustrating part of this entire mess is that it never had to end up like this. The WNBA was handed a once-in-a-lifetime chance, Caitlin Clark's massive popularity, and could have used it to build a rock-solid foundation for sustainable growth. If they had taken the right steps to protect her, promote her, and capitalize on her impact, the league could have secured its future for years to come. Instead, what they built is a fragile house of cards that collapses the moment their biggest star leaves the court. Until they figure out how to safeguard and truly elevate the players who actually drive interest, the WNBA will stay trapped in this exhausting boom and bust cycle, where the presence or absence of one player determines whether fans even care. So here's the real question. Will the WNBA finally wake up and protect its most valuable asset? Or will they keep repeating the same mistakes until every last opportunity Caitlin Clark created is completely wasted? Based on what we've seen so far, there's little reason to believe the league has learned anything. And that's exactly why fans need to make their voices heard right now. If you believe the WNBA has to step up, protect its stars, and treat this league like the professional organization it claims to be, say so. Drop a comment, share this message, and keep the pressure on. Because if fans stay quiet, nothing changes, and the future of women's basketball is too important to let it fall apart without a fight.